In the crucible of stars where blood buys glory and failure means extinction, every species sent their best. Earth sent something else. The crucible of kings drifted in orbit around a dying blue giant, its ancient spires wreathed in solar flame. Forged before most species had even crawled from their oceans, the crucible was older than memory and far more brutal. Every 1,000 cycles, the galaxy remembered what war truly was. From across the spiral arms they came, titans of empire, warlords of legend, assassins from species that spoke in radiation and thought in blood. Each was a sovereign's answer to the same question. Who will fight for you when the stars burn? The Dominion of Kael-Tor sent Zar-Zul the Unbroken. He arrived in a thunderclap of orbital descent, his drop pod punching through the crucible's defense grid like a god's hammer. When the dust cleared, he stepped onto the arena floor. 8 feet of plated obsidian armor etched with the names of dead worlds. His face, if it could be called that, was a bone-white maw wrapped in energy chains, his breath steaming like the vents of a war engine. The crowd of trillions screamed. His name. Planets cheered. Lesser champions lowered their eyes. He raised one clawed hand. Silence fell like gravity. "I stand not to compete," Zar-Zul said, voice like granite splitting under strain, "but to remind the stars why the Dominion does not ask for things, it takes them." He slammed a spiked gauntlet to his chest. "I will break the galaxy's best, then I will break the rest." The Crucible's AI confirmed him as the top seed. Betting markets went wild. The champion's kill count already trended higher than half the bracket. And then the feed shifted. Earth's shuttle arrived late. No escort, no war paint, no atmospheric ripples. It just docked. No ceremonial blast doors, no plasma banners, just a hiss of hydraulics and an old model transport creaking open. A single figure stepped out. No armor, no weapons. He wore a scuffed hoodie with the sleeves rolled up, olive drab cargo pants, and combat boots so worn they looked older than some species. He squinted at the light, yawned, popped his neck like someone getting out of a cramped seat, not stepping into the most dangerous arena in the galaxy. The Crucible's scanning drones moved in. They swept over him once, and then paused. Something in the readout glitched. His name blinked across the screen. Rig, Mason, Earth, designation, human, then error. Psychological profile missing. Threat level, unknown. Recommended reclassification. The commentators roared with laughter. "He brought gum," one barked in disbelief, zooming in on Rig casually chewing. Another jeered, "Is this Earth's strategy? Humor their enemies to death?" The audience laughed, but not Zar-Zul. His visor remained locked on Rig, not with fear, not even with recognition, but with the uneasy stillness of a predator sensing something wrong. A Kael-Tor general scoffed from the VIP balcony. "That's not a warrior. That's a janitor." Down below, Rig walked through the rows of monolithic champions, ignoring the glares, stepping over a bloodstain still warm. He eyed the towering statues of past victors, each 50 meters tall, carved in battle poses. He muttered under his breath. Big statues. Always overcompensating. A nearby guard turned. "What did you say?" Rig shrugged. "Nothing." Then, just before he entered the preparation wing, he paused, turned slowly, looked up, straight at the arena's main broadcast camera. Past. Trillions of faces. Past the screaming hosts. Past Zar-Zul. And he smiled. It wasn't friendly. It wasn't confident. It was the kind of smile someone makes when they've been in too many fights. And stopped caring how many come next. Then he pointed 2 fingers at the camera, clicked his tongue, and vanished behind the doors. The Crucible AI took a moment too long to load the next match screen. Backstage, in a private war room, a council, of silent observers watched Riggs' footage on loop. No sound, no filters, just the man. One of them finally whispered, "Did we really send him?" Another replied coldly, "We didn't send a hero, we sent a problem." In the Crucible, weakness is currency, and Earth just walked in broke. Or so they thought. The holding chambers beneath the arena reeked of old blood and old fear. Dim red lights pulsed across the titanium walls like a heartbeat on life. Support. This was where champions waited, before killing or dying. Riggs sat on a cracked bench, chewing a fresh piece of gum. He flicked his boot against the floor with a rhythmic clink, 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 the sound loud in the silence. Across from him, a Brachor juggernaut sharpened twin cleavers the size of hoverbikes. Beside it, a crystalline Mixari meditated mid-air, glowing, with pale psychonic flame. A nine-eyed Lurkson curled its tail across the floor like a python, watching him with predatory patience. Every eye, organic and otherwise, was on Rig. He didn't meet a single one. Above them, a floating holoscreen. Replayed footage of Zarjul's last trial. 3 contenders at once, all dead in under 30 seconds. One torn in half, one pulped into the floor, one impaled mid-dash. The audience screamed in ecstatic bloodlust. Zarjul stood in the center of it all, breathing calmly, the arena's heat shimmering around. Him like a furnace that had learned how to hate. The commentators buzzed. And next up, the human wild card. Odds remain stacked against him, 5,000.1 and rising. Is this Earth's idea of a joke? The Brachor leaned toward Rig and rumbled in broken trade tongue. You die fast, Squishy, but scream funny. Make crowd laugh. Rig glanced up. You always this charming before you get humiliated, or is today special? The Brachor stood abruptly. The chamber shuddered as it stomped forward, drool steaming against the metal floor. Say, again, pray. Rig didn't move. His voice remained flat. I said, sit down, before someone has to scrape you off the ceiling. The room fell quiet. The Brachor roared and lunged, only to freeze mid-stride. A metallic click echoed. Everyone turned. Rig had something in his hand. A tiny black cylinder. The Brachor growled. What that? Toy? Rig sighed. It's a memory scrambler. Military tech. Triggers seizures in anything with a triple-lobed neurocluster, like you. The Brachor blinked, confused. Then Rig tossed it to him. Instinctively, the Brachor caught it. Flash. The lights blinked. The Brachor seized, twitched, then collapsed into a twitching heap, foaming. Rig stood and calmly picked the device back up. Pocketed it. That was the training version. Real one's not so forgiving. Silence. The Mixari opened one glowing eye. You shouldn't be here, human, it said softly. This place, it chews up sanity. Rig stretched. His hoodie rose just enough to reveal deep scars, burns, claw marks, a puncture wound that looked like it had gone straight through his abdomen. He gave a half smile. Yeah, I've been chewed up before. Still here. Meanwhile, in the Crucible's command tower, a Kael'tor strategist stared at a readout in confusion. Threat score still unreadable. Biological profile corrupt. We've never seen this kind of neural structure. Another technician leaned closer. He doesn't register on aggression scans. Doesn't spike on fear either. A third turned, hesitant. Sir, should we inform Zarjul? The strategist shook his head. No. Let the human get torn apart. It'll entertain the crowd. Back in the chamber, Rig pulled out a napkin. He began writing on it with a stubby pen. A few warriors squinted at it. Ways to kill Zarjul. 1. Gravity trap under arena floor. 2. Blind spot feint plus trauma spike. 3. Bait to fire into reflective surface. Redirect plasma. 4. Collapse Western support beam mid-charge. He underlined 5. Let him overextend. knife to throat. Alerkson slithered closer, eye stalks trembling. You think you can win? Rig didn't look up. Win? Not the mission. He folded the napkin, stood. His expression shifted. No more tired indifference. Now, he looked like something buried had surfaced. This ain't about winning, he said. This is about making sure no one ever builds a place like this again. In the viewing galleries, a lone figure in Earth's uniform stood watching, eyes cold, mouth tight, hands behind his back. Someone beside him asked, "Is that really the guy you pulled from Black Section?" The officer didn't answer. He just whispered, "We didn't pull him. We unsealed him." The galaxy expected a massacre. What they got was silence. The arena's gates groaned open like the jaws of a rusted god. Floodlights flared across the obsidian sands, casting long, monstrous shadows. The Crucible of Kings roared with hunger. Billions. Watching from orbit, trillions more across 1,000 systems. Every screen, every bar, every war council. Match one. On one side of the pit, the Vortari blade singer, a six-limbed predator whose body shimmered with kinetic blades and synth flesh. Fast, precise, terrifying. The Vortari hadn't just won battles, it had danced through them. Spinal cords pulled out mid-spin, decapitations performed like art. On the other side stood Rig, still in his hoodie, still chewing gum, no armor. No fanfare, just eyes squinting in the Crucible's hellish light. The announcers chattered with bloodthirsty excitement. "Here it is, folks, the anomaly, the walking joke from Earth. Let's see how long he lasts. My money's on 9 seconds. 8, if the Vortari's in a good mood." Above it all, Zarzul watched from his private balcony, arms crossed over his massive chest, visor gleaming. Still, waiting. The Vortari gave no warning. It launched forward in a blur of motion, blades out, screeching high in its frequency. Range. A killing note that caused weaker species to go blind. Time seemed to stretch. To the crowd, it was a blur of limbs. To Rig, it was just another Tuesday, 1 second in. The Vortari lunges, spinning in midair, its upper left blade arcing toward Rig's jugular. 2 seconds. Rig ducks, not fast, not flashy, just enough. His boot shifts in the dust. 3 seconds. He steps inside the Vortari's arc. Closer. Too close. The creature tries to recoil. 4 seconds. Rig jams something under the creature's jaw. A steel spike. Wrist fired, 5 seconds. It goes off. The Vortari convulses. Its scream cuts off mid-pitch. Blades fall. Twitch. Collapse. 6 seconds. Rig doesn't even watch it drop. Just turns. Spits out his gum. It lands next to the corpse with a wet plop. Match over. Silence. Not shock. Silence. Across the galaxy, trillions sat frozen. No cheering. No sound effects. No applause. Even the Crucible itself, coded to amplify celebration, seemed unsure what to do. The arena AI's voice finally stammered. Combatant Rig. Victory. Threat recalibration in progress. On screen, the classification changed from human moderate threat to human designation, error, variable hostility profile detected. Remark: behavior resembles tactical predator, unable to project survivability in future matchups. In the shadows above, Kael'tor dignitaries leaned forward, whispering urgently. One of them slammed his hand on the rail. "That's not how humans fight. They're loud, clumsy, predictable." "No," said another, pale and sweating. "That's how monsters fight." Back in the pit, Rig stood alone. The corpse twitched once, then stilled. Rig rolled his shoulders, cracked his knuckles, looked up. A high-zoom lens caught his face, expressionless, unreadable. But his eyes? They weren't cold. They weren't angry. They were measuring, the way someone might look at a tool or a flaw in a wall before it collapses. In the underground, barracks, the Brakor juggernaut who had threatened Rig earlier sat frozen. He watched the replay over and over. Impossible, it muttered. He is small. The Mixari didn't answer. It just closed its eye. Whispered, he didn't fight. He solved a problem. Meanwhile, Earth's delegates sat alone in a sealed chamber, eyes locked on the display. He poured himself a glass of water. His hands shook slightly. Someone knocked on the door. The aide's voice was nervous. Sir, should we notify command? The delegate sipped, paused, replied calmly, no. This was match one. He glanced back at the screen, at Rig's still frame, walking out of the arena without looking back. If they think that was a fight, he set down the glass. They haven't seen what he does when he starts trying. You can't profile a ghost. You can't plan for something erased. Rig wasn't unknown. He was deliberately forgotten. The Crucible's data core buzzed like a wounded hive. It didn't like being confused. Every champion had a file, a record, a legacy. But Rig, his file was a black hole. Every time the AI pulled up human, Rig, Mason, it returned static, then red, then, once, a blinking symbol it had never seen before, a sealed Earth military sigil. Access denied. Level Black 0. Even the Crucible, engineered by species that dissect suns, couldn't override it. Meanwhile, the galaxy watched reruns of the Vortari's death in stunned fascination. Rig had killed with the cold efficiency of a mechanic fixing a faulty part. No battle rage, no wasted movement, just identify the threat, neutralize it, move on. But those who knew war, not sport, not ceremony, war, were beginning to whisper. The elders, the Black Ops commanders, the species that hid behind peace. Treaties while keeping armories full. They recognized it, not style, not tactics, instinct. On the broadcast, a special report began. A journalist from Echelon Prime spoke, shaking slightly as she tapped through restricted footage. We've received a leak from deep within Earth's strategic command. Data long, thought erased. Code names like Black Halo, Event Zero, Hell's Sky. One name keeps appearing. Not as the leader, not the face, but always in the aftermath. Clips played, corrupted, fragmented, a jungle burned black, nothing left moving. One figure walking out, an alien hive split in half by internal detonations, no survivors, a prison, ship drifting. Crew dead by their own hand, except one. Rig, sitting alone in the mess hall, untouched. Corporal Mason Rig, discharged with honors. Decorations redacted. Psychological profile. Sealed under existential containment risk. The journalist swallowed. Earth didn't send a soldier. They sent what they use when soldiers fail. In the Crucible's private quarters, Rig sat alone, shirt off, scarred torso lit by low, red glow, dozens of them. Bullet wounds, blades, burns. One unmistakably circular, like someone had tried to drill through him. He stared at a small cracked screen embedded in the wall. Earth's transmission delay left a 12-hour gap between him and command. But someone had left him a recorded message. It flickered to life. A woman's face, stern, older, wearing a tattered Earth uniform. Rig, if you're seeing this, we deployed you. Against unanimous recommendation. You were supposed to stay. Sealed! The Crucible is watching. So are 1,000 other civilizations. Show them nothing. Let them feel brave. And if they forget why Earth stays quiet, remind them. She paused. Her face softened. I hope you never get to part 2 of this message. The screen cut to black. Elsewhere in the Crucible, Zarjul meditated in a gravity flux chamber. He'd seen thousands of killers. He was one, but Rig didn't fit. Too quiet. Too controlled. Zarjul opened his eyes, fangs bare. "He's not here to win," he said aloud. His second-in-command blinked. "Sir?" Zarjul stood, massive and furious. "He's here to end something, or someone." He stared at the feet of Rig, now resting with eyes half closed. "He's not a warrior. He's what they send when warriors fail." Back in the barracks, the Brakor, who once mocked Rig, now avoided eye contact. The Mixari floated beside him, whispering its own warning. "Do you feel it? The way the arena watches him, like it's scared?" The Brakor growled, unsettled. "Arena is metal. Code. It can't feel." But even it didn't believe that. Because sometimes when Rig walked into a room, lights flickered, security drones reset, AI systems slowed, as if the Crucible itself wasn't sure it wanted to be around him. Far across the stars, Earth's council convened, admirals, strategists, shadows with no names. "We just got the Crucible leak. They know about Rig now." One leaned forward. "Do we extract him?" The answer was quiet. "No." Another asked, "Do we activate Phase 2? Pause. "Not yet. Let them learn." In the arena's prep chamber, Rig unwrapped a protein bar. He took a bite, chewed, leaned against the wall. There were no cameras. In here. But he spoke anyway. Voice low. Calm. "I didn't want this," he muttered. "But if we're doing it..." He cracked his knuckles. "Then I'm finishing it." The Crucible was built to crown champions. It was never designed to survive a problem. The next round began with a funeral. 3 elite champions had entered the pit. None left it. The Kyle-Tor tried to pass it off as a triple elimination match. But the footage was unavoidable. They'd been sent to ambush Rig, all at once, all off schedule, all in a silent lockdown arena, no audience, no witnesses, except there was one, the Crucible's own AI forced to record it under system fail-safe. Protocols, and what it recorded was a lesson. 12 hours earlier. Rig had been escorted to a private match zone. Standard procedure, they claimed. Only it wasn't standard. There were no medics, no announcers, no broadcast team. Just shadowed figures in Kyle-Tor armor watching from high balconies. He didn't speak as the gates opened and 3 champions entered together. A Skarn war caller, whose voice could rupture eardrums. A Threll gladiator with obsidian skin that deflected blades, and a Sci-Maw, pulsing with crackling brain energy, capable of melting memories. The doors locked, the trap had sprung. They thought Rig would run. He dropped his protein bar instead. 17 seconds. That's how long it took. The Threll was first. Rig used a rusted pipe like a crowbar, shoved it under one armored joint, twisted, and collapsed the creature's leg in a single crunch. Skarn came second, mid-charge, mid-roar, silenced when Rig wrapped his belt around its throat, and drove. Both into the power junction, frying them on impact. The Sci-Maw tried to invade his mind. That was a mistake. For 3 seconds, its eyes widened in terror. Then it began to scream. It kept screaming until Rig crushed its windpipe with a boot. No monologue, no fury, just brutal, efficient erasure. When Rig emerged from the smoke, blood-spattered, limping slightly, he didn't look up at the Kyle-Tor officers. He just tapped the observation glass once and walked away. The Crucible AI flagged it as a system violation. Unauthorized combat protocol. Survivor. Rig. Threat level. Adjustment. Red flag. Recommendation. System lockdown. The Kyle-Tor Council overrode it. No, let him proceed. Let the galaxy see his brutality. He'll lose support. But it didn't work, because the galaxy wasn't. Horrified. They were watching in silence. Many of them were remembering. remembering what war really looked like, not the ceremonial clashes, not the stylized duels, but the kind of violence you survive because you have no other choice. In the med bay, Rigg stitched his own side shut. No doctors came. He didn't ask. He hummed an old Earth song, low, out of tune. Something from the radio. During his first deployment, a Kael'tor agent entered, slow, cautious. "You don't belong here," the alien said. Rigg didn't stop sewing. "Neither does this place." "We'll kill you eventually." Rigg nodded. "You've been trying. I've noticed. Why not die quietly?" He tied off the stitch and looked up. "Because the galaxy built this place to glorify death, he stood. I came here to remind it what dying really looks like." Meanwhile, Zarjul trained alone in his gravity chamber. He'd stopped watching Rigg's footage, not out of arrogance, because he knew what he was seeing. In Rigg's movements, in his expression, he wasn't climbing the bracket to win. He was wearing it down, a virus, spreading fear, undermining control. With every match, every silence, every survivor who didn't come back, and worse, he didn't gloat, didn't posture. Zarjul's fists cracked the air with sonic booms. "Warrior or not," he growled, "I will end him." But Rigg wasn't trying to survive anymore. Not really. He was watching the Crucible, mapping its layout, pacing his matches, notching vulnerabilities in steel and code. He saw a weakness in the power grid near the gravity well. Logged it. He noticed cooling cycles in the AI mainframe. Logged it. He found a structural rattle in the champion's balcony above Matchgate 12, and he smiled. Earth's delegate received a silent ping. Encrypted. One word. Compromise. A second followed. Initiating burn pattern 1. The delegate swallowed hard, whispered, "God help them." In his next match, Rigg didn't kill his opponent, a young Araxi duelist, fast, brave. He broke her sword. Disarmed her, pinned her, then walked away. The crowd roared, confused, divided. When reporters asked why, he gave no interview. But someone leaked a message he left behind. "She's not the problem. This arena is. The ones who built it, the ones who watch. You built this place to make monsters fight for glory. Earth builds monsters for something else." They thought he was just another predator. They were wrong. Predators follow instinct. Rigg followed blueprints. He wasn't here to win. He was here to collapse something, and the Crucible was already starting to shake. The match began before the gates even opened. Rigg stood alone at the far end of the arena. No weapons, just waiting. Opposite him, Commander Zarjul, the reigning champion for 12 cycles, larger than Rigg by 2 meters, scaled, horned, armored in obsidian forged under neutron pressure. The audience overflowed. Billions watched. Commentators screamed about the moment they had all waited for, a true warrior versus the human anomaly. And still, Rigg looked bored. The horn blared. Zarjul didn't charge. He stalked forward. Careful. Focused. "This ends now, Terran." Rigg finally moved, tilting his head slightly. "You talk too much." Then he was gone. A blur. Zarjul blocked high, only for Rigg to drop beneath, sweep the leg, and shatter his footing. The crowd gasped as the Colossus stumbled. He caught himself, spun, lashed out with a crushing fist. Rigg ducked under it, used the force to leap onto his back, and jammed 2 fingers into a nerve cluster behind the champion's left horn. Zarjul screamed. Something in his spine snapped. In less than 15 seconds, the legend was down, paralyzed, gasping, unable to move. Rigg stood over him, calm. But instead of the final blow, he turned to the cameras. "You want blood?" he said. His voice carried. "Through the Crucible's comm system, overriding protocol. Turn it off. You don't deserve to watch." Then he kicked the arena's central power node. The lights died. Chaos erupted. Thousands screamed. Security systems triggered. Fighters and spectators were locked in. But Rigg had prepared. The power cycle shift he'd logged? It gave him exactly 8 seconds of blind time before the backup grid rebooted. In those 8 seconds, he was gone. Vanished. Security scrambled. Crucible control screamed over comms. He's not in the arena. We're losing containment. Find him before the next cycle? But they were already too late. Because Rig had mapped the Crucible's infrastructure for days, crawling into utility shafts, slipping surveillance, tagging weak points. Now he moved like a phantom through steam and shadow. Not a fighter, not a champion, a saboteur. In the AI core chamber, alarms blared. The Crucible's central intelligence blinked in confusion. It had calculated millions of outcomes. None of them included this. It opened a direct line to the Kael'tor. Commanders, he's not disrupting the tournament. He's dismantling the Crucible. Back in the champions' quarters, Zarjul sat, spine realigned, forced to watch reruns. He didn't speak until the Mixari floated near. You survived him, it whispered. You should be proud. Zarjul shook his head slowly. No, I wasn't his target. Then who is? The champion looked toward the command towers, toward the polished thrones of the Kael'tor elite, the ones who built this. Meanwhile, the Crucible's emergency generators failed, not from overload, from precision sabotage. Coolant valves were missing, wiring fused, fuel rerouted. None of it destructive, just surgical, designed to choke the system, not destroy it. Because Rig didn't want a collapse. He wanted them to feel it failing around them. He wanted to send a message. In the Kael'tor war room, the council gathered. What is he doing? He's bleeding us. They watched the feeds, training modules flickering, medical bays freezing mid-procedure, drones collapsing in the air. He's not just tearing down the Crucible, one counselor whispered. He's turning it against us. Then the lights in. Their chamber dimmed. One screen stayed online, a feed of Rig standing in their private command tunnel. He spoke quietly. We don't turn war into sport, we end it. He tapped the panel beside him. Your turn. Boom! The blast didn't kill, just caved in the hallway, sealing the council inside. The broadcast ended. Across the galaxy, reactions were divided. Some called Rig a terrorist, others a liberator. But all agreed he wasn't part of the Crucible anymore. He was hunting it. Far on Earth, the delegate received one more message. Phase 2. Complete. Phase 3. Collapse. Initiating. They turned to the others. It's happening. He's taking it. All down. The Crucible was meant to crown legends. Instead, it became their tomb. It started with silence. No matches, no lights, no announcements. The Crucible was offline. For the first time in 400 cycles, the arena stood still, a hushed coliseum of shattered illusions and smoldering lies. Dust drifted through fractured skylights. Broadcast feeds showed only static and the trembling Kael'tor crest. Billions waited, watching, whispering, wondering, where is the human? Rig had vanished. No biosigns, no camera feeds, no trace. But his impact echoed through every level of the Crucible. Half the security droids were down. AI control was looping corrupted instructions. Medical bots had switched to evacuation protocols. The Crucible wasn't just broken, it was bleeding out, and Rig was still moving. In the archives chamber, where the Kael'tor stored centuries of recorded battles, a figure stood alone before a massive projection. Footage looped. Alien champions raised in slow-motion glory. Monuments of Kael'tor power, edited wars showing only their victories. Rig stepped forward and dragged a cable out of the console. The footage glitched. He uploaded something new. The real footage. Unedited Crucible matches where competitors screamed as they were fed into rigs with no safety overrides. Secret executions of rebels disguised as losses. Prisoners of war turned into unwilling combatants. The galaxy saw everything. Riots erupted on Urix 5. The Valari homeworld shut down their Crucible feeds. The Tolai Confederacy opened criminal investigations into Kael-Tor war crimes. Even neutral systems, even rival empires, paused their disputes, because now they were united in disgust, and all of it because of one man. In the lower Crucible dormitories, former champions began defecting, not all of them, but enough. The Araxi duelist Rig had spared. She was leading them. No speeches, just quiet rebellion. They called themselves the Broken Steel. Rig had left instructions. They weren't orders, they were options, blueprints, escape tunnels. Weaknesses in Kael-Tor supply lines. He wasn't forming an army, he was handing out hammers. Inside the Kael-Tor War Council chamber, panic brewed. He's unraveling us from the inside. We can still contain him. Contain what? The Crucible is our symbol. If it falls, our rule falls with it. And still, one of them stared at the single screen still active. On it, Rig, sitting calmly in the abandoned control tower. Feet up, eating fruit from a smashed ration bin. He finally spoke. You turned the Crucible into a prison made of honor. But prisoners don't forget the guards, and monsters don't forgive the ones who feed them blood. Rig triggered the last phase. Phase 3, collapse. This place doesn't need to be destroyed, he said, fingers dancing over the console. It needs to be remembered. Explosives? No, the Crucible sank itself. He'd tapped into the artificial. Gravity core reversed the anchors beneath the foundation. Stone cracked. Metal groaned. The entire structure began to descend into the chasm beneath it. Not an explosion. A slow burial. The galaxy watched as the arena vanished into the abyss, all of it the thrones, the trophies. The Kael-Tor's greatest monument to violence. Gone. And standing on the final platform, untouched by the collapse, was the human. No crown, no armor, just a scratched uniform and a stare that burned through every camera lens. In the sector, he raised a single flare, red, bright, pulsing. Then the feed cut. Some say he died in the fall. Others say he escaped through tunnels. Even the Kael-Tor didn't know existed. No one knows for sure, but the messages kept coming. Not from Earth, from colonies, from enslaved worlds, from neutral planets who saw what he did, not with conquest, but with truth. Across the stars, Crucible arenas went dark. Some were abandoned, some burned, others were repurposed into memorials. In the ruins, someone carved a message into blackened stone. Earth didn't send a champion, they sent a reckoning. Some victories don't come with fanfare. Some revolutions start with a silence so deep, even empires can hear it cracking. The Crucible was gone. Not bombed, not conquered, buried. The Kael-Tor's monument to domination now rested beneath tons of crushed alloy and silence. No arena roars, no steel drums. Just the cold hush of consequence. No broadcasts went live the next day. No official statement from the Council. Because the galaxy didn't want a speech. It wanted answers. Across fractured systems, revolts bloomed like fire in dry grass. Former fighters, those once paraded as killers, led peaceful uprisings. On Juno 6, a Crucible arena was converted into a hospital. On Draxil Prime, the Empire's elite guards threw down their weapons and refused to fight. And in orbit above Earth, a single message pulsed across ancient human frequencies. He wasn't supposed to win. He was supposed to change the rules. But where was he? No body had been found. No signal, only rumors. A trader on Rythus swore they saw a Terran limping through the snow with a shattered radio. A rebel flotilla near the ruins claimed a stowaway left behind schematics for Kael-Tor. Ship weaknesses, and one surviving Kael-Tor noble confessed, under tribunal, he told me to live, so I could remember. In a quiet system light years from the wreckage, a boy found something strange in the dirt. A battered helmet, Terran issue, cracked, scorched, inside it, a data chip, and on it, a recording. The screen flickered on, Rig stood in dim lighting, face bruised, suit torn, eyes clear. If you're seeing this, it worked. The crucible is gone. He didn't smile. He looked tired, but steady. I didn't do this for Earth. I did it because they lied. To all of us. For too long. You called it sport. You called it glory. But it was a machine made to grind up lives and feed your pride. I don't want statues. Don't give me that. Give the next kid born in a mining slum the chance to grow up not having to fight a war for someone's entertainment. He paused. If you want revenge, stop. That's their cycle. That's their trap. We didn't need to be better fighters. We just needed to remind them we were never part of their game. Then the video cut. No ending. No credits. Just the quiet sound of wind. And still, the galaxy watched. In the following cycles, the Kael'tor Empire fractured. Several outer worlds declared independence. Allied species held war crime tribunals. The Crucible's legacy was outlawed in 3 quadrants. No one built a new one, because no one wanted to. A memorial was eventually built on neutral ground, far from Earth or Kael'tor space. Simple, circular, no weapons, just the names of every life lost to the arena's honor, and on a central plinth, etched in a language shared across systems. He didn't fight to win. He fought to stop the fight. Back on Earth, in a quiet corner of a military archive, a message remained classified for decades. It read, to Earth Strategic Command Subject, Rig, Special Operative, Final Report Status, Mission Complete Outcome, Non-Linear Victory Casualties. Acceptable Contingency, Future Intervention Unnecessary Notes. Next time they send a champion, we won't send a problem, we'll send a solution. The galaxy remembered, and for the first time in millennia, it began to change. Not because of a fleet, not because of a war, because Earth sent a single man who refused to play by their rules. The end.